All right, all right. Avi, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. All right, we are live. Thank you everyone for joining. Welcome to our discussion on the AI Promised Land. We're going to be talking about the impacts of AI on your support organization and how you can use it to improve and embed the customer experience culture across your organization. So super, super excited to have this conversation. Joining me today is Aviana Barom from Cook Unity. Avi, I'll let you say hi and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Avi. I have been in several different capacities of CX over the past 15, almost 20 years now, and have been loving every minute of it and seeing how incredibly fast the industry is growing with some of these new tools. And so I'm really eager to dive into this topic with you, Dion. I'm a Forethought customer. We love it so much. Can't wait to spread the word.
Woo! Exciting. Avi, thank you again for joining us. Um, in terms of agenda for today, so we're kicking off with a bit of welcome, bit of intros for everyone who is joining online. I will tell you a little bit about who we are here at Forethought. And then Avi's going to jump in, tell you a little bit about who they are over at Cook Unity. And then we're going to jump into two key topics. The first is implementing AI in CX. And then finally, we're going to talk about once AI is implemented and you're starting to see some of the benefits of AI, how can you then use that and more techniques to embed a CX focused culture into your organization? So thank you all for joining us. This is going to be such a fun topic. All right, Avi, should we kick it off?
Let's go.
Let's do it. All right, so let's start with who is Forethought. Here at Forethought, our goal is to build a fully agentic AI for the customer experience. Now, what does that mean? Well, we mean that our AI is not only just able to answer questions, FAQs, and information, but we want to build an AI agent that can reason, that can plan, ask follow up questions, apply actions, and ultimately resolve issues end to end. Because let's face it, we don't just want a chatbot, one that just chats with you and gives you answers, but we want something that can actually resolve issues. Our second key differentiator here at Forethought is that our models are completely fine-tuned and trained on your data. We leverage the latest and greatest in terms of LLM technology, as well as security and privacy practices and standards, so that you can get the most out of your data, and you can create an AI that's as unique as your customers are. And lastly, here at Forethought, we focus on bringing AI to the entire customer experience. So the same agent that can resolve customer issues can also assist your human agents and then generate insights for support leaders as well. We believe this will become the new standard for AI in customer experience. So very, very excited to be on this conversation and to show how we can implement AI in CX and what that means and how that can actually up level everyone across the organization to be more CX focused. Avi, I'll hand it over to you to talk about Cook Unity.
Thank you. Cookunity is a chef to consumer platform. Our goal is to make delicious food available to the masses. We work with some of the nation's top chefs, some of the nation's underrated up and coming chefs, and give them the opportunity to use our technology, our logistics, our operations to deliver their meals outside of their region. So if a chef has a restaurant, they don't have much reach, but if a chef is working for Cook Unity, then they have their restaurant along with our entire customer base. As you can imagine, with food, it's a very personal thing. So we have a lot of customers talking to us about the product and delivering some really great insights.
Also, I've had the opportunity to have some Cook Unity food, and it is bomb.
Yeah, I
um,
would say so too. Yeah.
so good. Awesome. Okay, very, very cool. I am going to jump into our key topic. So let's give an overview of what we're talking about here today. So with AI, there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of, there's a lot, when it comes to implementing AI in your customer experience. And when you think about AI that can, resolve issues end to end, one of the questions we've gotten here at Forethought, and I've gotten just personally, is, well, how does that impact the customer experience? How does that impact agents who were otherwise doing some of those responsibilities? Well, it turns out counterintuitively that leveraging AI in your customer experience doesn't necessarily translate to less work for your human agents. It does translate into more efficiency in terms of the ability to reduce repetitive tasks. But what we've actually found, and one of the most surprising things that I found, is that the use of AI actually then enables agents to upskill, to focus on building expertise in the product, to focus on driving revenue, for example, in sales and in post-sales use cases where you're looking at expansions or upsells, and to focus on quality and more. And if this sounds, if this sounds too good to be true, it did for me at first, but I heard this time and time again from so many customers that I started getting really interested in how this phenomenon happens. How can AI, though it's actually creating efficiencies, how can it actually end up allowing your agents to end up taking on more interesting tasks over time, right? And so that is actually the focus of this conversation, these non-intuitive findings where teams that have adopted AI have ended up using their agents and leveraging their agents for more and more interesting things. So none other than that actually is you, Avi. So this was actually sparked by a conversation that you and I had when we were talking about how you have built a culture of customer experience throughout your organization. So I was just curious, maybe let's just give a little highlight, some of the sneak peeks on that and how you've thought about things over the years.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, there's a lot of buzz around AI replacing headcount. And I definitely am not the person who thinks that AI will ever replace a human. I think that human contact, especially with high touch and sensitive cases, is extremely important. On our end, it creates less work that sometimes leads to burnout, right? So a lot of like repetitive tasks, a lot of FAQs, a lot of answering the same question multiple times a day, and allows my team to focus on more meaningful work, right? And a lot of that time, or a lot of the times, we get those insights from the team themselves, right? We have people that are interested in different facets of the business. And we want to cater to that and play into their strengths. So like you said, using our insights from AI to put more information into our data analytics programs, to surface bugs easier and let our team work with product support specialists. There's definitely a use case for letting your team now focus on different customer groups, right? So my team is catering to our high touch cases, to our high value users, and having more time available for them to do that just means more meaningful conversations and more retention, both on the customer side and on the team side.
That is super cool. So as I'm hearing that, it sounds like really it's a redistribution of energy, so to speak, right? Like being able to focus your agents on the highest value tasks, also probably the most interesting tasks for their role and for the company. So it's very, very cool to hear you see that. And again, that's what inspired this webinar today, hearing some of these stories. So let's dive in. So maybe the first topic to cover, just to level set, is AI, right? Because a lot of these benefits are on the back end of having implemented AI, seeing those benefits. But what are the things that you can? What are some of the impacts you can get with AI, right? So let's start talking about that. And what is the impact of AI on your organization? Maybe talk a little bit about, what use cases you're seeing or you're using with Forethought or other AI tools, and what are the outputs of those?
Yeah, CookUnity is AI forward. We have different AI initiatives throughout the entire organization, so we all are very excited about it. From the CX side, Using AI to really consolidate feedback and VOC data is so helpful. I mean, if you're on the CX side and you are reporting to your leadership team, I know that you know that it takes hours to put together reports to talk through your defect rate, to understand why those defects are happening, and to sort of like uncover root causes. AI is extremely helpful there, right? It saves hours of time and produces the best results. So I'm using it for analysis. We're also obviously using it for customer facing inquiries. So I believe right now with Forethought, 55% of our cases are deflected using the AI knowledge. And this is strictly just the knowledge base right now. We actually haven't even dived deeper into endpoint integrations for more self-service, but just using our knowledge base and building a really, really solid knowledge base with Forethought has definitely helped with that.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm hearing two use cases there. One is using AI in terms of generating insights. So being able to see what's going on in your organization, what are your most common issues, how are things going in support, and then the second being using AI to actually resolve end user inquiries and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And one of the thoughts or questions I had is like sometimes people have a fear of like when you say 55% in terms of resolutions, how do you know these are real resolutions and not just like deflections, right? So I'm just curious, and again, whether that's using Forethought or other QA or however you think about this, how do you think about the quality of responses when it comes to AI?
Yeah, definitely. Something that is concerning, right? When you see that your inquiries are being handled by an AI bot.
Like, ah.
So it's a lot of analysis, it's a lot of fine tuning, it's a lot of iterating, right? Forethought has really insightful dashboards that allow us to read transcripts, right? And so that's really what I spend a lot of my time doing, is looking into deflection reasons that may be a little bit more sensitive, maybe a little bit more high touch, but not enough to get to an agent. Auditing those, seeing, what direction the customer takes, what sort of conversation the customer is taking, and then continuously iterate on our workflows to make sure that we're confident, right? We can measure CSAT. We see CSAT improving when we make certain changes to our workflows. So I think that, yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of hesitation there, and it's really up to the individual to continuously iterate and train, the AI, because you want it to work to the way that you expect it to, right? Of course, AI is constantly amazing me, and I definitely know that it's smarter than I am in certain capacities. But when it comes to like our business, when it comes to like our business tone and like the way that we want to, address our users, those are things that you definitely want to look into and constantly tweak until you have confidence that the product is working the way that you want it to.
That's super cool. Another question on that or train of thought here is, so we were talking about, leveraging AI and leveraging Forethought for your knowledge base. Are you starting, and you also mentioned you're looking at using endpoints and stuff like that for more actions. In between there, what are some of the more interesting use cases? For example, we launched auto flows about a year ago. Are you starting to leverage those? How's that? Like, for the sake of the audience, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, autoflows are a lifesaver. When I have used and tested different bots that are out there, different AI solutions that are out there, the building of the flows is often the most tedious part, and can lead to errors, right? You have to be extremely precise and meticulous when you're building these workflows, and even then something can go wrong. Autoflow for somebody who's not as tech savvy is really great because you can talk to it as if it's a GPT. You can give it really clear instructions. And this is something as simple as just like typing out a paragraph, right? I go a little bit deeper into my flows, and I do break it out into sort of like an outline. But even then, it's me just typing out that outline versus having to like put a workflow together that could often lead to issues. So that's definitely a lifesaver when it comes to that, and we also use these insights to build auto flow. So when we're going through these customer conversations, Forethought gives solutions to literally just like generate an article or generate a workflow at the click of a button. So sometimes, even though I pour through this information, I miss something. right? This just happened to me the other day, right? Where I was looking with our product team at some of the questions that we had around login issues, right? And we missed something in a couple conversations, and Forethought was able to help me build a new workflow really quickly. And when I say really quickly, I mean in less than 5 minutes. In fact, I just demoed this to our team in an all hands meeting, and I had 2.5 minutes to do it. So it really is that quickly versus, like I said, spending weeks on building out these manual workflows.
Amazing. I'm so glad to hear it. It's one of my favorite. I mean, obviously, being one of the builders of the tool, I'm biased to like it, but the autoflows feature is just one of the coolest things that I've seen our team kind of invent and come up with. Like the ability to just explain to the AI, here's how we solve this problem here at Cook Unity. It'll remember that, and then for forevermore be able to actually do that without any decision tree. So I'm glad to hear that's working really well for you. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm trying to build a new one every day, at least.
And when you say build, it's literally just get in, write it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, that's music to my ears. I love it. It's when we launched, like internally, when we started launching this and playing with it and using it for ourselves, it was like the coolest thing. Like we saw people who wouldn't even want to be in a workflow builder or like in the support world, just in there having fun because they could interact with this AI and get it to solve problems for us. So it's definitely like a fun tool for non-technical people, right? So which is awesome. So all right, so we have that. We have insights, the ability to generate new knowledge articles, the ability to know what's going on in your support org. We have AI that's able to resolve customer inquiries. You're QAing those. You're leveraging autoflows for the more complex workflows. Any other use cases, maybe for the sake of the audience? I don't know, like things that come to mind where you're like, here are places where I'm either using AI today or where I think I could be using AI in the future.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Forethought, we do use Agent Assist, which I think is a huge time saver for agents. And in fact, there are a lot of solutions out there for Agent Assist. I think maybe Forethought has one coming up on the roadmap. I would love to see
We
it.
absolutely do have Agent Assist, actually.
But for the time being, I built my own. I built my own in GPT, just used a custom GPT, ingested all of our help center knowledge, all of our tone information, gave it example cases. Really just took like the better part of a day training this GPT, and my team uses it. My team uses it now as an assist, and it's completely catered to our use case. That's the thing, is like when you are shopping for something like this, there's like one or two things that are missing, right? That would really make it the best tool for you. And so it's very easy, I hope I'm not getting in trouble by promoting to build.
Go for it. I want to hear how all everyone uses
it. Yeah. But it's reduced my team's handle time in specific cases by like 35%. It's made their life so much easier. My team is located in a different country, and English is not their first language, although they are fluent sometimes when it comes to like tone or, like different, like meeting the customer where they are, it's really easy for them to use this tool. And then it also does case summaries. It also can help me build a Forethought workflow, even if I want, if there's like something different.
No way. All right, AI for the AI. Let's go.
Yes, they all work together. They all work together. And I would also love to see. Just more like, when it comes to consolidating data and the manual work that goes around that, I would love to see, just like an AI produced dashboard when it comes to like my inbound for that week, for example, right? So that way I can see, hey, this segment of users in this market, for some reason there's a spike in this like specific contact, and then pull out all of those learnings without even going to look for it myself. Because right now, I am looking for it myself and then using AI to then like transcribe it and to make sense of it. I would love for the AI to do that work for me, and to just make things very like universally accessible to everyone at the click of a button. So that way I'm not answering, 15 Slacks by different stakeholders, and just having the data at a moment's notice to show them.
Oh my goodness, so many cool use cases. I'm an AI nerd, so I love some of the cool ideas you have there, and I probably have an upsell for you. But anyway, that's for a future conversation. But super cool. So all of that, reason I wanted to talk through all of that is so that our audience can kind of really think about, here are all the ways that AI can have an impact, right? It's resolution, it's agent assist, it's discovery of insights and all of that. And at the end of the day, like these are some really big numbers you're putting out there, right? So in terms of resolution with Forethought, that's 55% of your cases that I guess are gone, right? Like are being resolved in a very cool way from your from AI. Then you have agent assist, which is making your agents faster. And so ultimately, I think this will translate in theory to, hey, agents now have more time, right? You probably have a little bit more time back in your day. But as we mentioned at the beginning of this call, it turns out that most businesses are not actually, it's not that you're necessarily starved for time, but that if you had more time, you would actually go and just do more for your customers, right? And I think that's the weird kind of counterintuitive truth about this space. And so maybe the big question is, all right, what happens when you have more time? How do we do that? So I remember you talking to me, and again earlier before we hopped on here, about this idea of building a CX focused culture and this concept of upward mobility and career growth. So we're going to hop in and talk about this. But first question for you is, how do you think about empowering CX agents? What does it mean to promote upward mobility in a CX org?
Right. So one of our main objectives on the CX team, and not that I want to get rid of my agents by any means, but is to help them transition into different places within the business. I think that, CX, especially in a high growth company, is a really great stepping stone. You learn everything about the company and what it does, the ins and outs, and you think like a customer for the most part. So what we try to do is learn, like I said, learn what our team is really interested in doing. Give them special projects, stretch projects with that extra time that they have, maybe in retention or maybe in quality, right, or data analytics, or even QA within our tech resources, right? So we give them that time to collaborate with other leaders throughout the org, or other peers throughout the org, to understand how things work outside of the job that they're doing. So we have, just even over the last 4 months, have transitioned, I think, 4 or 5 of our agents into different areas of the business. And this gives me peace of mind, because especially when it comes, for example, QA for product rollouts, having a CX person being the QA person for new product rollouts makes me feel like I have complete confidence. Of course, I trust our team of engineers wholeheartedly, but like I said, you think like a customer, right, and not like a developer when you are doing this. So we really try to empower our team, especially with the time that they have, to sort of seek out, right, what they're most interested in, and then we help them as a crutch to get to where they need to be.
That is super cool. So you really invest in your agents, figure out what they love to do, what skills they want to build, and then help them do that with the additional resources and time they have at their disposal. Did I hear you say that you had 5 different team members either be promoted or join other parts of the organization in the last, what was it, 6 months or so?
Yeah, 4 people in the last 3 to 6 months. Yep. And some of them are doing, concentrated work within designated roles, and some of them have sort of created their own roles, right? And have been working on special projects. A lot of them, or some of them, not a lot, I mean, there's only 4, but some of them have moved on to project management roles, which is really great with a CX mindset.
Cool.
Where you're seeing, a huge project or a small project, but really they've been working on bigger projects, especially newer projects. And seeing every single, the 360-degree view of that, and being able to sort of implant that customer centricity throughout every step of the way. We call it planting CX seeds throughout our organization to have a beautiful customer-centric garden in all areas of our business. Because I think that, sometimes, it's hard for the CX voice to get heard, and so having as many outlets as you can, is super important to make sure that everyone stays customer centric within your organization.
No, that is super awesome. A friend of mine once said, and she was a customer experience leader. That most companies, when they say they're customer obsessed, they don't mean it. Like it's very hard to be a truly customer obsessed company. But it's so cool to hear what you're doing at Cook Unity, where you actually take the folks who are at the front end dealing with customers every single day, and then those become your product managers or your data analysts or other parts of the organization. So that phrase you used, I think it was like planting your CX seeds and garden. That's super awesome to hear.
Thanks.
Awesome. Okay, so that is, I think, one of the cooler ideas that again, when you create automation and when you create AI, build AI into your organization and start seeing the impacts, you now have more of an ability to create a more CX focused organization. Let's talk a little bit about another couple of use cases here. So you mentioned, for example, this idea of your CX agents going and become product managers and stuff like that. You also mentioned earlier AI being able to give you insights and a few other things. And so one of the key questions that I'd be curious to explore is, how can CX and product become closer together? How does AI enable that? And how does the ability to kind of up-level your agents, so to speak, into product enable that? Curious if you had any thoughts on that, Avi.
Sure. I mean, for us, data is king. We are recording almost every bit of data that our customers reach out about, and tagging it, assigning different contact reasons, and then escalating it into a universal reporting system. So we integrate Snowflake with our CRM, and then that goes over to Tableau, which is what we use for data reporting. And at a click of a button, our product teams, our operations teams, our culinary teams can see all of the customer feedback that's led to some sort of friction, right? Or not, right? But there are, great, love cases that come out of CX, but for the most part, they come to because they're experiencing some sort of friction. So we pipe that data and we loop it on a weekly basis. I mean, we are in meetings together going over this data, and like I said, I take that data, those data sets, which are, it's on the upwards of thousands and thousands of rows, and I use AI to consolidate that, right? So we're looking at user segments, where they're located, what happened, what sort of consistencies, maybe like this, for example, like maybe one of our third-party delivery partners, is showing signs of weakness in a certain market, right? And we can pull that out really easily. Same goes for the digital product, right? We try to escalate every single UX issue that our customers are facing, whether that be a typo or something that's prohibiting them from placing an order, right? That these are crucial. And outside of that, even like on a more ad hoc basis, our team is escalating our bugs, right, to our product support team. So our CX team identifies, I would say, probably 95% of bugs that actually happen. And we have a workflow and a process to report those and to track them, right, till solution. And I think that's really important when it comes to feedback looping. Those who maybe aren't in CX, that are listening to this. I mean, CX is always going to have the insights. They're going to provide the feedback. Making sure that it gets back to the team and, therefore back to our customers is extremely important. So keep keep that on the top of your mind when your CX team is giving you feedback. The most important part is discussing the action items, the timeline to resolution, and how we can mitigate any customer feedback, until that time.
Well, that is super awesome. So being able to generate those insights, and really treating CX as, again, that front line of your product, right? Like as an extension of your product. Oftentimes CX is the first place where bugs are reported, probably even feature ideas in some cases, right? And so I love to see what you're all doing there. And so moving on to another topic, I was thinking now about, so you now have AI able to do a bunch of really cool stuff. You now have human agents who are um, supercharged, so to speak, right? And so, how do you think about this interplay between AI, customer experience, and I might even throw in what we were talking about earlier, the product team, right? Like, where do you use what? How do you know when to apply the human touch? How do you know when to automate with AI? And then, how do you like take all of these ingredients and build a world-class customer experience team?
That's a really great question. I think it's really unique to your use case, and to the product that you
Yeah,
have, and to how you want to engage with your customers. You know what I mean? We
yeah,
want to make sure that our best customers' voices are heard and they're talking to a person. We also want to make sure that somebody who just wants to know if we deliver in a specific zip code doesn't have to wait minutes or hours to get that answer. So really depends on what's going to be the most successful for you. For us, it's generating a lot of these sort of what we call lazy contacts. Um, you
mm,
know, pretty much contacts that have an answer somewhere throughout our site. Those are what we're deflecting with AI. We're using CX for more sensitive cases, for brand new customers, for high value customers. Like I said, if we get an insight that says that a certain market had some sensitivity last week, then we might even switch up our routing and make sure that those customers come to an agent. So it's constantly changing. And on the product side, it's just like we were talking about on the last slide, is continuously looping that feedback and trying to find
yeah.
like the Goldilocks effect, right? What is working the best? But it takes time to understand that. It takes, like I said, a lot of iteration, a lot of trust that you put in your team, into your tools, to figure out what is the best option.
Amazing. So it sounds like it's really you really embrace this continual learning approach where you're continually learning about what's going on in your customer base, what's going on in your product, and then adapting, whether it's training for your agents or training for your AI, and continuing to do that to build a world-class experience.
Yeah, I don't think that this will ever be set in stone. I think it's a constant evolution as we grow. I mean, we are always looking at how to improve the customer experience, and I don't think that there's ever a period there.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so I'm going to summarize with one last slide, and then we'll do a bit of Q&A. But thanks everyone for listening in. We started this by calling it the AI Promised Land. And the reason I love this topic, and Avi, thank you so much for sharing so much again, is because AI and customer experience should be inherently human, right? It's almost an oxymoron or whatever, almost a paradox. But at the end of the day, we're all building tools for people. We're building tools not just for efficiency gains, right? Like speed, reducing costs, things like that. But a lot of what you said there, Avi, was actually around improving the customer experience, right? Getting their questions answered more quickly when it's the simple questions, and then enabling them to get prioritized when they're, when it's the high value questions or when it's the really meaty stuff. And then at the same time, really, really creating a customer centric org internally, embedding the seeds of customer experience throughout the company, embedding those insights throughout the company, and so on. So love this all together. Avi, thank you so much for sharing your insights. And for the audience, again, the goal and really the takeaway of this conversation is that you can leverage AI and your people together. And what ends up happening is you end up delivering more for your customers. So thank you again, Avi, for all of your insights.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. So we'll have a bit of time for some Q&A. So we'll take probably a couple questions here. All right. First question is, what challenges did you face when integrating AI into your CX processes, and how did you overcome them? Avi, I'll let you answer this one.
Sure. Um, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, a big challenge is if you implement too quickly and don't continuously test. It's very, very important to start with a framework, right? Even though autoflow is just typing into a prompt into a screen, having it all really laid out is very important. So understand, what customers are reaching out about, how you want to solve their problems, and then test, and read the feedback that comes from customers, understand how your workflows are integrating with, the conversations that they're having with those customers, and continuously change them. I think that, one thing that we've fallen into, a trap that we've fallen into, is when we thought that we were finished building. But then you sort of see these edge cases that can be, really tough to see, where customers are kind of falling into black holes with AI tools. So making sure that you're catching those and continuously updating your AI is what's going to help you overcome any challenges that I've faced.
Awesome. I love that. Appreciate that. And you also mentioned you had made like a switch from more decision tree based oriented kind of bots over to more of this, auto flowsy kind of natural language based bots. Were there any obstacles either in kind of the previous world when you were very decision tree heavy, or in that transition? Just out of curiosity, and then we'll jump to the next question.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I said, the decision tree route is very meticulous and time consuming, and leaves a lot of room for error. And it also like doesn't really listen to the customer, right?
Right.
It's an IVR, it's mimicking what you would do if you're talking to an operator on the phone. So there's like a set resolution, whereas with autoflow, it picks up tone, it can resurface new new knowledge, just like if a customer switches the topic really quickly without having to cycle back to that more manual workflow.
Yeah.
So the challenges have been less and less since we've moved over. I definitely recommend building something more of like an autoflow like Forethought has, versus that IVR sort of menu selection.
Very cool. And I'm probably bashing my own product, but anything you feel like you lost in moving in that way, like for the audience's sake, like what might have been the trade-offs, if any?
Honestly, nothing. I can't think of anything top of mind that was very impactful. There was a learning curve, and I think that that's about it. But otherwise, we've seen success.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay, cool. Love that. Was curious about going deep on that one. The next question, what advice would you give to leaders who want to ensure their CX initiatives not only improve customer support, but also foster employee growth and retention? So very, very on topic for this webinar.
Yeah, improving customer support, training and quality is key. I think that if you haven't yet, building out that as a standalone function within your CX is very important. We've seen so much improvement in the way that we offer support to our customers by implementing a training and quality team, and really taking the time to evolve the work that they do. I think that it is extremely important to have really, really close tabs on your quality at all times, and having a team dedicated to that is extremely helpful. Or a tool, right? We're not there yet, so we do have a team of people that are doing it, which is helpful. A tool is strong and gives you more, more reach. But even having just a very grassroots version of quality assurance in your team is I think is very helpful. And then that, helps with growth and retention. Like when I built out a quality and training team, these were agents, right? So it's like, not only do the agents come out of CX into different areas of our business, but they also evolve in CX into different, leadership positions, or even, different positions within our organization. So these were agents. They are now leads in quality and training, and have applied, their own knowledge, their own background experience to evolving how we look at these initiatives. And I think that that's really key.
That is super cool. Yeah, we hadn't talked a lot about that as well, but not only will your agents go and kind of embed throughout the organization, but many will then become the experts and the leads on your team that are then training the next crop, and potentially becoming AI experts and so on as well. So I love to hear it.
Yeah, listen to your team. They're going to tell you, and they're going to show you where their strengths are, and you as a leader, it's your responsibility to understand, how to play on those strengths, whether it's, sending them abroad or keeping them to yourself, and using, their experience and their strengths to just make your organization stronger.
Amazing, amazing. And then actually to that note, last question I think we'll have time for, but did you build any mentorship or any like cross training programs as you were as you were trying to build your agent skills or get them promoted or things like that?
Unofficially, yeah. I mean, like, I think that's definitely on our roadmap as we've seen success, more recent success in taking these initiatives. So, yeah, and it's something that our team asks for, right? Like I said, when you listen to your team, they're giving you feedback just as much as you're giving them feedback, and they start to see their colleagues, take on these different responsibilities and have these different opportunities presented to them. So they ask, like, hey, I would love to learn more about this, or is there any way that like you can sponsor this like short online class that I want to take around like data analytics, right? So that's definitely something that we're fine tuning and tailoring now because I think that it's showing success without an official mentorship program. So absolutely something that we'll continue to build on.
Amazing. Avi, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure having this conversation and sharing your insights and wisdom with the broader audience here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been really fun. I really appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. And for our listeners, thank you all so much for joining. Hope you really enjoyed that. I had a blast listening to Avi's wisdom and how we can foster CX across organizations. If you're interested in learning more about our findings, there's a link on the screen. We are sharing the State of AI Powered Customer Service peak season insights. A lot of people are going into their peak season right now, whether it's Black Friday or the holiday season. And customer experience is front row and center for many, many organizations. So definitely check out our findings on more things you can be doing there. Thank you everyone for listening. And Avi, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to chat with you.
Bye-bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.